Tasmin, unto him, prasanne, being pleased, sakala ashisham, of all benediction, Prabhu, unto the Lord, Kim, what is that? Durlabam, very difficult to obtain. Thabi, with them, alam, away, lava atmabihi, with insignificant gains. Ananya drishtya, by nothing but devotional service. Bhajatam, of those who are engaged in devotional service. Guha asayaha, residing within the heart. Swayam, personally, vidatte, executes. Swagatim, in his own abode. Paraha, the Supreme. Param, transcendental. Translation and purport by Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada. Nothing remains unachieved when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with someone. By transcendental achievement, one understands everything else to be insignificant. One who engages in transcendental loving service is elevated to the highest perfectional stage by the Lord Himself, who is seated in everyone's heart. Please repeat the translation. Nothing remains unachieved when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with someone. By transcendental achievement, one understands everything else to be insignificant. One who engages in transcendental loving service is elevated to the highest perfectional stage by the Lord Himself, who is seated in everyone's heart. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord gives intelligence to the pure devotee so that they may be elevated to the highest perfectional stage. It is confirmed herein that a pure devotee who constantly engages in the loving service of the Lord is awarded all knowledge necessary to reach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For such a devotee, there is nothing valuable to be achieved but the Lord's service. If one serves faithfully, there is no possibility of frustration because the Lord Himself takes charge of the devotee's advancement. The Lord is seated in everyone's heart and He knows the devotee's motive and arranges everything achievable. In other words, the pseudo-devotee who is anxious to achieve material gains cannot attain the highest perfectional stage because the Lord is in knowledge of his motive. One merely has to become sincere in his purpose, and then the Lord is there to help in every way. Presents the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om ajnanatimirandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshuram militam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktarunda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in the last verse, we started with the Falashruti, means the result of understanding the subject, what benediction one is blessed with. So Bhagavatam also, many places, this Falashruti has been enumerated, basically encouraging devotees to get immersed into the subject of Bhagavatam, into specific personalities or the entire Bhagavatam itself. It is like a little allurement for people to engage in devotional service. So here it is said, Tasmin prasanne sakalashisham prabhu. Tasmin prasanne. When the Lord becomes satisfied, sakala ashisham prabhu. He will be blessed with all the benedictions. Kim durlabam tabir alam lavatmabihi. What is unachievable for him? Kim durlabam. And tabir alam lavatmabihi. Whatever everything is there in this material world, he feels them as insignificant. Lava, like insignificant. Except the Lord, everything else becomes insignificant for him. All material perspectives, he is not bothered of. Ananya drishtya bhajatam. Those who engage in unalloyed devotional service. To whom? Guhashayaha, who is seated within the heart of all living entities, the Supreme Lord. Swayam vidatte swagatim parah param. The Lord takes him to his eternal abode, or he is elevated to the perfectional stage. Swayam, by the Lord himself. The Lord takes him parah param to his supreme abode, which is transcendental to all these material worlds. The Lord takes charge of the devotee completely. That's what, in a sense, Prabhupada writes in the purport. So, if one serves faithfully, there is no possibility of frustration because the Lord himself takes charge of the devotee's advancement. So, there is frustration means when there is a anticipation of failure or repeated failureness, we come to the stage of frustration. So, here there is no frustration because Lord is completely in charge. Lord has taken the control of the devotee's advancement. The Lord is seated in everyone's heart and he knows the devotee's motive and arranges everything achievable. So, everything achievable which a devotee can, because it is Lord decides what for the devotee, what he is capable enough. I may aspire something big, but am I capable for it? So, this is his perspective. So, Lord, as per our sincerity, he reciprocates. That's the point is been updated here. Like for example, pseudo devotees, they may endeavor, but they may not get the result. Because Lord is understanding their motive. So sincerity versus pseudo devotee, that's a difference. One merely has to become sincere in his purpose and the Lord is there to help him in every way. So, the sincerity is the purpose. The more we become sincere, the result is achieved. What is best for us, the Lord decides. I may wish something which is beyond my capacity or which I cannot handle. The Lord knows, yes, he is not capable enough to handle that subject. The Lord may not grant me that. Or sometimes we have some inhibition, whether I will be able to execute it or not, but I am really capable. The Lord blesses us to do that work. So this is the perspective of reciprocation from the Lord. So similarly in Bhagavad Gita also, the same subject has been pointed out there. The second chapter, 64th and 65th sloka. So when Lord becomes satisfied and after Lord is satisfied, what happens? Ragadvesha vimuktestu vishayan indriyasharan atma vasher videyatma prasadam adhigachyati. Says, Raga Dvesha Vimuktestu, one who is free from this duality of this material world. Raga Dvesha, attachment and aversion. Vishayan Indriyasharan, and one who is free from abstaining his senses. Because Indriyas, they would like to go around and they would like to enjoy the senses. The senses would like to go and enjoy. So, Vishayan Indriyasharan, one who is able to restrict the senses in their enjoyment. And Atma Vashehi, one who is able to self-control. Videya Atma, one who follows the regulated principles of freedom. One who is systematic in his endeavor. One who is regulated person. Videya Atma. Prasadam adhigachyati. Then he becomes eligible to receive the mercy of the Lord. So, to receive the mercy of the Lord, what is the qualification required? One is Videya Atma. He should be a regulated man. Atma Vashehi, he should be under self-control and he should be free from duality, Ragadvesha Vimuktestu. Then we become qualified to receive the mercy of the Lord. Okay? Once we receive the mercy of the Lord, what happens? Further it says, Prasade sarva dukkhanam hanirashopajayate. Once you receive the prasada, the satisfaction of the Lord, sarva dukkhanam hanihi yashopajayate. Will become free from all these material contaminations. Prasanna chetaso hi asu. The consciousness becomes very peaceful, calm, satisfied. Prasanna chetasaha. Buddhihi paryavatistate, and intelligence becomes fixed up, steady. So, this is what a sthita prajna stage is, advanced stage of Krishna consciousness. So, if you satisfy the Lord, there is nothing that can be achieved for the devotee. Similar perspectives are there elaborated in Bhagavatam at couple of places. So this is same in the same context itself with Hiranyaksha and Lord Bhor. At the end of concluding these pastimes in some other chapters, it says, "Yo vai Hiranyakshvadam Maha Adbhutam Vikriditam Karana Shukaratmanah Shrunoti Gayati Anumodate Anjasa Vimuchyate Brahmavadadapi Dvijaha." Yaha vai Hiranyakshavadam Maha Adbhutam. The person who this Maha Adbhutam, which is most wonderful, of what? Hiranyakshavadam, killing of Hiranyaksha. Vikriditam, which is a pastime by whom? Karana Shukaratmanaha. A Lord who has appeared specifically for this purpose, Karana Shukaratmanaha, in the form of a Lord Boar, which is the playful pastimes of the Lord Boar, to kill this Hiranyaksha. Shrunoti, one who hears. Gayati, one who chants. Anumodate, he enjoys. Anjasa, and who makes others hear this. Not only you, if you are making others also to hear this pastime, Anjasa, very easily. Vimuchyate, he becomes free, completely free. Brahmavadadapi dvijaha. Oh my dear Brahmana, even from killing a twice born Brahmanas also, he becomes free from all that sinful reaction. Just by hearing this, making either you hear, you recite, or you make others hear to this perspective, to this subject. You become free from all sinful reactions up to the point of killing even a Brahmana. And further it says, Etan Mahapunyam Alam Pavitram. This narration is Mahapunyam. This is most pious activity. Alam Pavitram, it is very pure. Dhanyam Yashyam Padam Ayurashisham. And when you recite this, when you hear this, what happens? Dhanyam, we becomes very satisfied. Then Yashasham, and you become glorious. And Ayurashisham, and you will get a long life, longevity of life. One's get wealth, fame, longevity, and all the objects of one's desire. Pranendriyanam yudhi shaurya vardhanam. If you are engaged in the battlefield, if you hear this pastime, Pranendriyanam yudhi. So the strength of one's vital organs and the organs of action will increase. Shaurya vardhanam. Next, Narayano ante gatiranga shunvata. So those who hear these pastimes, at the last moment, ante gatihi, the destination will be Narayanaha. We'll go back home, back to Godhead, to Narayana. So next, further, one more place where it says, once you hear about this Prithu Maharaj and perspective, it says, this is about Lord Shiva when he explained Rudra Gita to Prachetas. At the end of concluding that Rudra Gita, Lord Shiva says, Ya imam shraddaya yukto madgitam bhagavat stavam. So one who shraddaya, with faith, yuktaha, one who is engaged in madgitam, the song sung by me, for what? Bhagavat stavam. It's a prayer glorifying the Supreme Lord. Adiyano duraradyam. Adiyanaha means so after engaging in devotional service, duraradyam, and worshipping the Lord, which is very difficult, duraradyam, to engage in devotional service of the Lord is not easy. So you engages in devotional service of the Lord, which is very difficult for common people. Harim arayati aso, he becomes engaged in devotional service of the Supreme Lord very easily. So by engaging or hearing faithfully this Rudra Gita, one gets to opportunity to invoke the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Next, Vindate Purusho Amusmad Yad Icchati Asatvaram Mad Gita Gitat Supritat Shreyasam Ekavallabat. So the Lord is known as Shreyasam Ekavallabat. He is the dearmost object of all auspicious benedictions. So a person, Purushaha, Madgita Gita Supritat, who sings this song sung by me, pleases the Supreme Lord. Suprasidati. Then Asatvaram, being fixed in the Lord's devotion service, Vindate Amushmad Yad Ichanti, one can acquire whatever he wants from the Supreme Lord. Just by engaging or hearing about this Rudra Gita, one can satisfy the mercy of the Lord and he can achieve whatever he wants from the Lord. And further he says, idam yah kalya uthaya pranjali shraddhayan vitaha shunuyat shravayen martyo muchyate karma bandhanai. Martya, a person in this material world. Idam yaha, one who recites this. Kalya uthaya, as soon as you get up from your bed, you remember this Rudra Gita. Pranjalahi, with folded hands. Shraddhayan vitaha, with folded hands and with faithfulness. Shraddhayan vitaha. Shunuyat, one who hears. Shravayen, one who makes others to hear. Muchyate karma bandhanaihi, he becomes free from all bondages of fruitive reactions. And finally he concludes, Gitam mayedam naradeva nandanaha. Oh my dear sons of the king, Gitam maya idam, the song which I have sung, parasya pumsaha paramatmana stavam. This is the glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to this material world. Parasya pumsaha. And Paramatmana, who is there as super soul in everyone's heart. Stavam, it is his glorification. Japanta ekagra diyaha tapo mahat. So one with one pointed attention is tapo mahat. It is the greatest austerity what one can achieve. Charadvam ante tata apashyata ipshitam. And one who, in this way, when you are mature, your life will become successful. So, Lord Shiva is addressing that prachetas. So, once you do this in the mature stage, your life will become successful. Then, apashyata ipshitam, and you will certainly achieve all your desired objects without fail. So, what is the desired object for the devotee? Why is he engaging in devotional service? Krishna Prema, engage in devotional service of the Lord in the spiritual world. That to continue the devotional service, to achieve love of Godhead and engage in permanent devotional service. So for the devotee, whatever he desires, the Lord will sanction him. Means we will go back to the eternal spiritual world and continue engaging in devotional service, that unalloyed devotional service. Because devotee doesn't desire anything other beyond devotional service or mercy of the Lord. He will not get carried away by any fruitive mentality or any anticipation of sense gratification. So the devotees will achieve everything. That's what here Lord Shiva is addressing. In a similar perspective, after explaining entire Uddhava Gita, the Lord concludes to Uddhava also in the 11th canto. He says, Abhikshnaste gaditam jnanam vispasta yuktimat etat vijnaya muccheta purusho nasta samshayaha. So he is saying, Abhikshnasaste gaditam jnanam. The whatever knowledge I have explained to you, vispasta yuktimat, you have to repeat, which is with clear reasoning. The Lord explained with full analysis, full logic and argument. And Purushaha etad vijnaya, anyone who understands this knowledge, nasta samshayaha, he becomes free from all the doubts. And muccheta, he attains liberation. And further he says, Suviviktam tava prashnam maya etad api dharayet sanatanam brahma guhyam param brahma adhigachyati. So, dharayet, one who meditates or fixes his attention, maya etad api suviviktam. Jai Shri Radha Govinda ki. So, one who fixes his attention on these clear answers, as explained by the Lord, tava prashnam, to your specific questions, will attain sanatanam brahma guhyam adhigachyati. He will attain the eternal confidential goal of the Vedas. That is Parabrahma, the supreme absolute truth. And further he says, Ya etan mama bhakteshu sampradhyat supushkalam tasyaham brahma dayasya dadami atmanam atmanaha. Ya etam mama bhakteshu. So one who liberally disseminates this knowledge among my devotees, supushkalam, liberally, is Brahmadhyasya is the bestower of the absolute truth. He is distributing the Supreme Lord in the form of transcendental knowledge to everyone. That's why he is Brahmadhyasya. And for him, Tasyaham Dadami Atmanamaham. For him, I give my own very self to him. The Lord said, and Mam Jnana Deepena Darshayam. For he reveals me to others with the lamp of transcendental knowledge. Because he is explaining about me, he is revealing my glories to others. How? With the Jnana Deepena, with the transcendental light of knowledge, he is giving my awareness to others. So finally, the Lord concludes by saying, Ya etat shraddaya nityam avyagraha shunuya naraha Mai bhaktim param kurvan karmabir nasabhadyate. Yayetat shraddaya nityam. With faith, one who regularly avyagraha shunuya naraha. Very faith and attention, one who hears this narration, listens to this knowledge, naraha, a person. Mai bhaktim, he achieves my devotional service. Param kurvan, which is highest, param. And karmabir nasabhadyate, he will not be bound by the reactions of this material. So this is the perspective. The whole idea is to glorify about the Lord, to whatever we hear from this Bhagavatam, it has to be communicated to others. It has to be preached to others. One is, first it is said, we have to read and we have to understand. Then when we propagate this to others also, it will have an impact upon them. Show the mercy of the Lord very easily. So, Achar, then Prachar. So recently, I was interacting with some devotees' parents. So always whenever they come, they keep giving one quote. Krishna himself married, why are you not marrying? So, some example they say, Pundarika served his parents nicely, why don't you serve your parents? What example are you setting? What Shastra do you follow? What you preach, you don't follow. So, when people say like this, what can we answer? How do we communicate to them? Huh? Krishna married 16,000 times, but he recommended after marrying, become a brahmachari by his experience. You can't marry, you can't handle them, that's why you be brahmachari. So here, one thing I was just thinking, the same story what they have quoted as reference, as Pundarika serving his parents when Lord has come. If you see his life history, what actually is that story? Pundarika, he was a born sober boy of their father Janudev and his mother Satyavati. They are from this Maharashtra province. They were all great devotees of the Lord. First we have to understand, the parents are great devotees of Lord Krishna. So when he got married, he started ill-treating them because of the wife's association. Wife was a little greedy lady and all these things and all. He became captured by the wife. And he started ill-treating his parents. He started torturing them. At one particular point, the parents decided, let us go to Kashi. We can't bear this torture anymore. So when the daughter-in-law also got to know that the in-laws are all planning to go to Kashi, so she also said, okay, we'll also come to Kashi. So again, these two people, young, Pundalika and his wife, are traveling on the horse, and parents were asked to walk. And every day in the evening they used to take rest in a nearby place. And the parents have to do all the cleaning for the horses, feed the horses, and do all the daily requirements for the day. And then they were asked to take rest. So parents were thinking, this is the wrongest decision the day we thought to go to pilgrimage. We would have been more happy. Walking is one thing, and again after that also again you have to do all the services there. They were cursing for the situation. Generally going to Kashi means it's not that you will not come back. It is you are quitting your life as a vanaprastha or something, you are taking the shelter of a spiritual abode, spiritually enriched abode, so that you are done with your life and you want to finish your life at that particular point, at that last moment of your life, in Kashi or in spiritual places. Kashi Yatra means that's done. The person is finished for that life. So in the process, one day they came to an ashrama of Kukud Muni. So they took shelter at that Kukud Muni's ashrama. So in the night, everybody was fast asleep. Pundarika could not get sleep. So he was just awake. Suddenly he saw in the early morning some beautiful damsels. They came there. They were all with muddy cloths, soiled cloths. They came to the ashrama. They cleaned the ashrama. They washed the Muni's clothes. And they went inside the puja room. And they came out as a clean, very clean cloths. Very glorious, very glowing. And as soon as they came out, they all vanished. So he was under confusion. What is happening? They came with old clothes, soiled clothes. They did all the, housekeeping services like clean the floor, mop the area, wash his clothes of the Swamy, everything and all. And they went inside the altar and they became very clean. So he stayed for one more day. So he wanted to clarify who are these women, as it is am I dreaming or is it is real? So next time when he saw that woman again, he asked them, who are you? And what are you doing here? So they explained that they are the personification of all rivers in this world. Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati and all these rivers personified we are. Because everyday people come, they take bath in our rivers and they leave all their sinful reaction into us, which is shown as the soiled or the stains on our clothes. So we come here, we serve this great sage, and by serving him, all our sinful reactions are cleansed off. And we go back to Rahasyam for one more day. And like that they were saying, you are such a sinful person. You are planning to go to Kashi and take bath. You are such a sinful person. You are torturing your parents. You don't understand what will be your destination. Like that they gave him some spiritual knowledge. He became shocked of his life. He experienced the shock of his life. He felt this is not the correct thing. Then he understood what was his mistake. Then he understood the glorious of their parents who are great devotees of the Lord. So he went back, he took them back and he started serving his parents so nicely. He started taking care of them so nicely. Lord became attracted by his service to his parents. And one day Lord came to give him audience. At that time he was engaged in the service of his parents. He said, "Oh Lord, please wait there." And he gave one small brick for the Lord to stand there. So Lord, accepting the instruction of the devotee, he was standing there. And you know how Vittala stands? He stands like this. So what does this mean? The Lord is saying, you just surrender unto me, I'll take care of you. All your maintenance is with me. And he said also, in one more perspective, Acharyas also explained, the entire material world, whatever we see, we have to cross to the other world. What we should do? We have to cross the ocean of cycle of birth and death. The Lord is saying this ocean is only up to me, this waist only. The waist height, you can easily cross over, no problem. You come with me, the ocean is only up to waist height, I will take care of you. So this is the perspective in which the whole point is, why did Lord come there? Why did Lord appear there? It is said once, when Krishna was there in Dwaraka, Krishna, the gopis had come to visit Krishna. So at that time, Krishna was discussing with Radharani in a more intimate way. At that time, Rukmini Devi came there and she saw Krishna and Radharani in a more intimate way. They were exchanging. She became little jealous. It is said that Rukmini Devi became offended. Krishna had never reciprocated with me in so much intimate way. He is handling with Radharani. So she became angry upon Krishna and she came to this forest of Dindirvan, which is near around Pandripur area, and she started engaging in tapasya. So Lord followed her to pacify her. After so much time, Lord tried to pacify her, but she was not pacified. Then Lord left her and came to the house of Pundalika at that time. So Lord was made to wait on that time. In the meantime, Rukmini Devi also could understand the mood of the Lord. She also left her mana and she came also, stood with the Lord. In that way, that Pandripur, that Lord's Vittala's and Rukmini temple was constructed. So here, what do we understand from this story? The parents were the pure devotees of the Lord. If they are of the superior nature of the pure devotee, then there is no problem. But if their mentality is materialistic nature, then that is the problem what we are saying. The spirituality is in the perspective of when we serve superior advanced personalities, there is no problem with us, because if they are of the category of pure devotees of the spiritual master category, they are interested in taking us back home, back to Godhead, it is the best opportunity to serve. But if their mentality is not up to the standard of devotional service, or if they are in the karmi standard, it becomes very difficult for us to follow their materialistic instructions. That's the only perspective what our apprehension is. So similarly, we also see, if you go to social media, there are many places where we see pranks people do. You heard of pranks? What is prank? Practical joke or some you make fun of a person. It's like a surprise. And who is the greatest prankster? Krishna is the greatest prankster. Nobody can know how he will prank people. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came also, he was the greatest prankster. So this is one perspective in explained with relation with Murari Gupta. Murari Vaishye Gupte Ihara Hrudaye Yeteke Murari Gupta Nama Yogya Haye. So why is Chaitanya, who is Nimai Pandit, and Murari Gupta in their childhood days when they were studying under their teacher? So one day, Nimai, as he was playing in a transcendental prank, he was on the street along with other children. He was covered with dust from top to bottom. And Ye Duli Dushar Hemagiri Kalebar Anugata Bayasya Sohite. Only way he could be recognized is by his golden complexion, that he is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Or else his body was covered with full dust from bottom to top. So children were all playing and there was a fight and they were enjoying immensely. They did not care what happened to their clothes, which had already fallen off long ago. They were bathed in perspiration, dirt, and they were engrossed in their boyish play. At that time, Murari Gupta, who is a scholarly boy, who is like Ramudu Manchi Baludu, he is like a pakka teacher's boy, teacher student, who doesn't go even one step away from the teacher's instruction. He was passing by a very serious student and he was surrounded by his admiring friends. In class already 2 batches will be there. One, अच्छा बच्चा जिसके साथ उसका फ्रेंड्स रहता है, और एक बिगड़ा बच्चा जिसके साथ अपना फ्रेंड्स रहता है. 2 बैच रहता है. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was that naughty boy and Murari Gupta is that good boy. So there was some discussion going on. They were all asking doubts and Murari Gupta was explaining to them. So when little Nimai saw this, he quietly followed Murari. So Murari Gupta also knew that Nimai was following him. He ignored him. The best way to treat somebody, restless person, is to ignore him. This is Murari Gupta's principle. So he calmly continued his explanation on the finer aspects of jnana philosophy. So seeing this, Nimai told they're all very naughty and they all started laughing. And not only Nimai friends, even Murari Gupta's friends started laughing to how Nimai Pandit was handling all these things and all. So Lochan Das Thakur, he explains this. Deki Vaidya Murari Kataksha Tileko Heri Puno Kore Jagor Bhakan Sei Moto Vishwambarer Jagor Bhakan Kore Teno Nare Hat Teno Mukakan. So Murari could not ignore Nimai anymore. Actually, he was a personality of very peaceful temperament. So he thought this boy, the son of Aunt Sachi, has crossed all his limits of decency. So Murari lost his temper and he started scolding. Echare ki bole bhalo dekiya to chawol mishra purandar suto aaye. Sarvatra shuniye kata ihar se gunagata. Bole naam ihar Nimai. This son of Purandar Mishra is a trouble to everyone. Who has ever spoken nicely about him? Wherever you go, you hear his glory. Moreover, what a name they have kept him, Nimai. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very angry when he heard Murari speak in that way. So whenever Lord becomes angry, it is a blessing upon the devotee. It's a part of his Leela to show his mercy. So Nimai also growled at Murari. He knitted his eyebrows and said, I will show you for all your so-called oratory skills. Just you wait and watch in lunchtime. I will teach you such a lesson you will never forget. So Murari felt uneasy in his mind. He knew Nimai, whatever he says, he is famous for whatever he will do. So for his naughty, mischievous pranks. So he was thinking, Lord only knows what he is going to do today. But he forgot about the incident. He went home, he took bath and he dressed himself and he sat ready to honor his lunch. So meantime, Nimai also went home. He also got ready. He immediately remembered what happened in the day. That Nimai had given a warning, your lunchtime, see what will happen. So Murari could not believe it, that Vishwambar was there at the doorstep. His beautiful form was shown in the golden form. He had a smile. Tabe se Gaura Hari ki karo boli, sei kane hoilo upanito. Tarashta nai ho tumi, ekane achiyami, bojan karaho, bani boilo. Murari said, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's all right. Don't worry. I am standing here. You eat peacefully. Vishwambara said. Murari had a relief and he continued to eat quietly. Then can you imagine what Nimai would have done? He went there near the plate and he susued into the plate. Boriyo mutmutilo, he urinated all over his plate. Murari was shocked, dumbfounded. He immediately said, Ki boli chichi, utila se Murari. He said, what is this? And he cried in disbelief. Nimai started clapping his hands and he started, Karatali diya bole ghora. He said to Murari, Bhakti pa chadi hi, koru shirer nadiya, jog bolo lei abhipara, jnana karma upekiya, Krishna bajo mon diya, rasik dibagda chidananda. You dare to discard the path of bhakti and profound the glories of jnana yoga, and look at you, you move your head and hands as if you are a great pandit when actually you are a biggest fool. He started scolding him because Murari was propagating jnana yoga. So Nimai was scolding him. You are supposed to preach bhakti and you are thinking as if you are panditaha, but you are preaching all nonsense topics. Then Lord commanded Murari, abandon all your paths of jnana and karma and simply immerse yourself in Krishna bhajana. Krishna is the supreme of all the rasas. He is expert in all the arts and the fountainhead of all charm and eternally blissful. Then Nimai peacefully left the area and returned home, revealing the essence of love of Godhead to his eternal associate Murari. Murari became ecstatic. He was in almost like lost consciousness. Slowly he started recollecting what had happened and he understood the philosophy. Then he came to the house of Murari. Murari ran to the house of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Vishwambar. There he saw Vishwambar as a small boy playing in the lap of Mother Sachi and his father Jagannath Mishra, and both of them are trying to kiss him. So Murari then ran to Advaita Prabhu and started praising to him, narrated everything, whatever happened. Lord Advaita became ecstatic. He said, Iha suni dvijamani, hunkara kore dvavani, puloke purilo sabanga. His eyes were brimmed with tears and he roared in joy. He called out, has the Supreme Lord finally answered my fervent prayers? Has the day of deliverance arrived? He held Murari in a right embrace. The whole perspective is, the Lord is also trying to communicate to the perspective, do not run behind this karma and jnana, which are, they will not lead us towards devotional service. They will not take us back to Godhead. The whole perspective is to engage in the sincere devotional service of the Lord. And sometimes in a way, see, this is the entire perspective is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela is the reciprocation, because the devotees have satisfied the Lord. And these are like transcendental pranks which attract our consciousness so that we become hooked onto the pastimes of the Lord with his eternal devotees. This is the perspective. So when we read Srimad Bhagavatam, when we read Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see that by satisfying the Lord reciprocates to the devotees' feelings and he gives us an opportunity to release all these transcendental pastimes. So we'll stop here. Any questions or doubts? ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की, जगत गुरु शिल प्रभुपाद की, निताय गौर प्रेमानंद।
హరే కృష్ణ గోల్డెన్ టెంపుల్ వారి మరో అపురూప కానుక హరే కృష్ణ వాణి ఆధ్యాత్మిక మాసపత్రిక. ఇప్పుడు మొబైల్ యాప్ ద్వారా కూడా సులభంగా పత్రికలు చదువుకునే సౌకర్యం, వార్షిక సభ్యత్వం, భగవద్గీత, భాగవత ప్రవచనాలు, స్ఫూర్తి సందేశాలు, ఇంకా మరెన్నో సదుపాయాలతో హరే కృష్ణ వాణి మొబైల్ యాప్ నేడే డౌన్లోడ్ చేసుకోండి. మరిన్ని వివరాల కోసం కాల్ చేయండి 9133107700.